Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Special Forces. Enron is hunted down, instantly killing the criminal. Crossing the world of Special Forces fusion, Su Yu's father was killed by a scorpion, so he swore to avenge him. Coincidentally, the superpower system has been activated, and as long as you train crazily, you can enhance your physique and acquire various abilities. Unfortunately, at the beginning of the game, Su Yu coincidentally met Enron, who was being chased. So, Su Yu made a bold move, killed the criminal, and saved Enron. You drew the diamond drive and obtained the steel body ability. You have drawn a divine level marksmanship and obtained the ability to unleash without any false attacks. You have extracted divine level recovery and obtained superpower recovery ability. He Chenguang. With this guy around, I can never be a sniper, I can't even compete. Wang Yanbing. Su Yu is the #1 wolf tooth. Fan Tianlei. This guy has caused me a lot of trouble, hey. He Zhijun. Su Yu is the strongest soldier I have ever led, not one of them. Enron. I am Su Yu's woman, I am proud. Introduction is weak. Old author Shuangwen, non-toxic. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Encounter Enron by chance, criminal pursuit. Seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the suburbs, a separate courtyard is located here. Surrounded by a forest and mountain range, next to a highway. In the yard, Su Yu is doing push-ups. The sweat sliding off the cheeks formed a small puddle on the ground. Wearing short-sleeved upper body, the muscular blocks of the robust arms are sharp and angular, with bulging veins, full of astonishing explosive power. It can be seen that on his back, there is a stone slab several centimeters thick, as big as his back. However, with every push-up, he can steadily hold up without any trembling. His strength is amazing. Ding, the host has accumulated 1,000 points. When the sound in his mind sounded, he propped up his arms with force, and his entire body instantly bounced up, standing steadily straight. If someone were here, they would definitely be shocked and speechless. Carrying such a heavy stone on one's back, standing up straight in an instant requires an absolutely terrifying explosive force that ordinary people cannot achieve. At this moment, Su Yu untied the rope tied to the stone. Bang! The heavy stone fell to the ground, making a dull sound. Whew! He took a deep breath and wiped away his sweat. System, consume 1,000 points, strengthen physical fitness. Ding, according to the host's instructions, consume 1,000 points and strengthen your physical fitness to 20, host. Su Yu physical fitness. 20, 10 for ordinary people, ability. Low-level Vajra is not bad, low-level combat, low-level burst points. 1,000 has it finally reached twice the physical fitness of an average person. After checking the system panel, Su Yu pondered. Scorpion, you're one step closer to your death. Recalling the events of the past few months made his expression gradually cool. It has been over a decade since I traveled to this world. My mother died early due to illness, while my father was a police officer, although not wealthy. Originally, I thought I would live my life like a normal person. But who would have thought that just 2 months ago, his father Su Haishan was brutally murdered by overseas mercenaries while on a mission. The mercenary group that brutally murdered his father was the infamous Scorpion Mercenary Corps internationally. It was precisely because of this that he realized that he had traveled to the world of special forces. Coincidentally, just after Su Haishan was killed, he activated the system. Training makes you stronger. As long as you train crazily, whether it's running, push-ups, squats, etc., you can increase your points. And points can strengthen one's physical fitness and extract superpowers. So he swore to work frantically to become stronger, and one day he would find a scorpion and kill it for revenge. In 2 months, he extracted 3 abilities, and just now, his physical fitness has reached twice that of an ordinary person. Low-level Vajra is not bad. Strengthen the body and give it the ability to resist attacks beyond that of ordinary people. Low-level combat. Possesses 10 years of life and death combat experience. Low-level burst. It can instantly burst out with a strength that exceeds half of its original ability. With my current strength, even the elite soldiers in the army are difficult for me to match. Su Yu clenched his fist slowly and had a rough assessment of his own strength. He has a physique that is twice that of an ordinary person, including strength, speed, perception, reaction, and more in all aspects. After calming his breath, Su Yu sat at the table. On the table, the conscription brochure is placed on top. He has already registered and is waiting to enlist. Because he is well aware that Scorpions are an overseas mercenary organization, and this is the world of special forces. With one's own abilities, it is unlikely to have the opportunity to meet Scorpions without joining the army. So, he volunteered to enlist without hesitation, hoping that one day he would wield his sword against Scorpions. Now, with his physical fitness, he can earn dozens of points by doing 100 weight-bearing push-ups, and even by sprinting 1 kilometer, he can earn dozens of points. Of course, according to the requirements of the system, every training must be done in the most standard and extreme way to obtain points. That is to say, doing 100 extreme standard push-ups may require hundreds, or even thousands, to have 100 being the most standard extreme push-ups. The ultimate sprint of 1 kilometer is likely to require the maximum number of sprints per kilometer to achieve this distance. Gudong. Su Yu picked up the water on the table and drank it in large gulps. Prepared to take a break and then continue training. However, at this moment, he heard the sound of hurried running footsteps and intense breathing coming from outside. The next moment, with a loud bang, the door was knocked open. A beautiful figure wearing a black outfit with short hair fell to the door and rolled several times. Su Yu got up and walked over. Black Qianying struggled to support the ground with her hands and lifted her upper body. You can see that her facial features are delicate, her skin is fair, and she is very beautiful. Wearing a black and powerful outfit, outlining the graceful curves of the body. But at this moment, his face turned pale, and sweat kept slipping off his cheeks. On her right arm, there is a several centimeter wound that has dyed her clothes red, and blood is still flowing out. When Su Yu saw this behind the scenes, his eyes froze. Enron. Not bad, the person in front of him is too familiar. Isn't it Enron in the world of special forces? Not bad, this person is the lieutenant officer of the Wolf-Fong Special Operations Brigade, Enron. Chapter 2. Instant killing of criminals, Enron shocked. Seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, she also saw Su Yu, her beautiful eyes revealing a resolute color. The next moment, she took out a small bag from her pocket and threw it to Su Yu. Hide in the room, report to the police, keep your things safe, and hand them over to the police. Immediately, she had to forcefully stand up and leave the house. Taking the bag, Su Yu frowned. At this moment, he heard the sound of hurried footsteps outside his house, rushing towards his room and faintly conversing. Now, why is he still unclear? Enron is being chased. It is obvious that Enron handed over important information to herself, and she is preparing to go out and distract the pursuers, using her life to guard the information. Enron stood up with a weak body at this moment, ready to rush out. However, one hand grabbed her arm. Turning his head, he saw Su Yu with a solemn expression on his face. It's too late. Su Yu pulled it closer to the yard with a big hand and quickly closed the door. Turning around, he said seriously, go hide in the room. Enran was momentarily stunned. I originally intended to subconsciously refuse, but upon seeing Su Yu's gaze, an inexplicable sense of trust arose. Immediately, he was pushed into the room by Su Yu. Su Yu quickly arrived at the courtyard gate and hid behind it. With his hearing, he could naturally tell that the two people chasing outside were very close. If we go out safely, it will be a dead end. Since I have seen it myself, it is impossible to refuse to save. He is destined to wield the scorpion's hand. Since that's the case, let's practice with these two people. Outside the house, two people were quickly approaching Su Yu's house. As you can see, both of them are very sturdy, with thick arms under short sleeves. And in their hands, they all hold a black handgun. At this moment, one of them glanced at the house ahead and sneered. This woman can disguise herself, but I didn't expect her to be an undercover agent. Yeah, I usually have a cold and charming appearance, but I didn't expect to be a soldier from thousands of miles away. The other person spoke up. She's injured. After chasing for so long, she must have run out of energy. When the time comes, we guys need to feel good and comfortable before we kill her. The two of them laughed lewdly as they spoke. At the same time, with a fierce expression in his eyes, he approached the door of the house. In the room, when Enron saw Su Yu hiding behind the door through the window, she was immediately shocked. She thought Su Yu had some other way, but now judging from her appearance, she's going to take action. She knows very well that both of the two people who are chasing her have guns, and they are all practitioners. Su Yu is looking for death. Thinking of this, she had to endure the pain and get up. We must not let Su Yu take such a risk. However, before she could get up, she heard a loud bang. The door was kicked open. At the next moment, two big men carrying guns walked in. For a girl who has no weapons, is injured, and is at the end of a strong crossbow, they haven't taken it to heart at all. However, Su Yu behind the door had a murderous intent in his eyes. Right now. The next moment, he lifted his leg and suddenly gave a flying kick. Bang! One of the big men only felt a sharp pain in his chest. Immediately, the whole person flew out horizontally and fell fiercely a few meters away. The gun in hand also fell to the ground. Woo! He fell to the ground, his face turned pale, and his facial features twisted together in pain. There was blood oozing from his mouth. You can see that his chest has collapsed and his sternum has broken. This kick left him seriously injured and on the brink of death. What kind of person? On the side, another big man was instantly taken aback when he saw his companion's tragic situation. Where did such a terrifying presence emerge? He didn't react slowly and quickly raised his gun, ready to kill Su Yu. However, Su Yu had already anticipated his actions and immediately waved his hand, grabbing the other person's wrist and lifting it upwards. Bang! Gunshots rang out and bullets hit the roof. Su Yu grabbed the opponent's wrist and forcefully folded it. Click! A crisp sound of breakage came out, and this person's wrist was instantly broken. Ah! He screamed out in agony, with a twisted expression of pain. The broken wrist made him unable to hold the gun and it slipped out of his hand. Su Yu quickly took the pistol with his other hand, aimed it directly at his forehead, and without hesitation pulled the trigger. Bang! Gunshots rang out. This person's back of the head instantly exploded with blood mist and fell to the ground. And the other one who was kicked out, seriously injured and dying, was struggling to pick up the gun. He looked extremely frightened. In just a few breaths, his companion was killed and he himself was seriously injured. What is the origin of this young man? He is so terrifying. They didn't even react, they died and were injured. However, he was destined not to understand. As soon as his hand touched the gun, Su Yu pulled the trigger again. Bang! Accompanied by a gunshot, both of them died. Watching the two people's deaths, blood was still flowing from their heads. In Su Yu's eyes, there was no waves. Because he has rehearsed the idea of shooting and killing countless times in his mind. Now, we have put in practice. Damn it, he's not worth any emotional fluctuations. At this moment, in the room, Enran's beautiful eyes were filled with shocked colors. Chapter 3. Fan Tianlei appears, this boy is so strong. You are listening at novel full.audio. In just a few short breaths, Suyu killed both armed men. If it weren't for the fact right in front of her, she would hardly believe it. You should know that she is very clear about the strength of these two people, both of whom are capable of taking on several opponents at once. But in Suyu's hands, he didn't take 2 moves. No wonder Suyu dared to do so. It turned out that he had absolute confidence in his abilities. She suppressed her shock and walked out of the room, leaning against the wall. Thank you very much for saving me. What's your name? Suyu turned his head to look at her and calmly said, Suyu. Suyu. Are you a soldier or a police officer? Enron curiously looked at Suyu. Suyu's skills are definitely not ordinary people. Moreover, it is absolutely impossible for an average person to use a gun, and shooting and killing someone with such decisiveness is not a big deal. Suyu said, after graduation, yesterday I signed up to join the military. As the words fell, Enran's mouth suddenly widened in surprise. Isn't this to say that Suyu is not a soldier or a police officer, just an ordinary graduate student who hasn't enlisted yet? This shocked her to the extreme and made her even more impressed by Suyu. It is definitely not easy for an ordinary person to have such skills and mentality. At this moment, she continued to ask, You're not curious, what do I do and why am I being chased with a gun? Suyu's calmness surprised her greatly. Most people would be very curious if they encountered such a thing, but Suyu didn't ask a word. Is this kid the calm guy? But Suyu felt a bit amused. He doesn't even have to ask, can he still be unclear about Enron's identity? Next, the two of them chatted a bit and finally got to know each other. Enron bandaged the wound and then called the police. The police car roared and brought the 2 people back to the station. 2 people died, so naturally we still need to go through the process. Of course, Suyu does not need to take responsibility. Even saved Enron and protected the security of important information. Suyu deserves credit. After completing all the procedures, Suyu and Enran walked out of the bureau. At this point, Enron has also recovered quite a bit, with some redness on his face, and he looks even more beautiful. Suyu, if you join the army in the future, we may have a chance to become comrades in arms. You can call me Enron's sister. Enron was smiling and blinking at Suyu at the moment. Suyu nodded and said, Okay, Enron. Enran waved his hand and said, All right, you can go back. It won't waste your time. We'll see each other when we have the chance. Okay. After the two said goodbye, Suyu turned around and left. Meanwhile, several police cars parked outside the station. A few people descended from it and brushed past Suyu. Taking a casual glance, Suyu raised his eyebrows slightly. Because the 2 people who were taken down from the car were He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing. Has the plot started yet? After glancing at each other, Suyu did not stop and left straight away. Soon, He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing were taken into the station. Enran was about to leave when a car arrived outside the station. A soldier in military uniform with a slightly chubby figure walked down. When she saw this person, Enran was immediately surprised. Chief of Staff, why are you here? The person who came is none other than Fan Tianlei, the Chief of Staff of the Wolfang Special Operations Brigade. Fan Tianlei looked at Enron with some confusion. I'm here to handle something, why are you here? I was also injured. What's going on? After listening, Enran sighed and then briefly explained the previous incident with a bitter smile. After listening to what had happened, Fan Tianlei's eyes suddenly widened. Are you saying that a newly graduated young man easily killed 2 criminals with guns and rich combat experience? Enron, don't scare me. Fan Tianlei was a bit skeptical, after all, this just doesn't sound too true. Enran shook his head and said, "Indeed, if it weren't for him, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to see you now." After receiving confirmation, Fan Tianlei was very suspicious. "I didn't expect to come across such a young person on this trip. He was originally selecting suitable candidates when he came out of the army this time. Now, I happened to hit the door and hit one." He nodded and said, "I understand. You go back first and take care of your injuries." After bidding farewell to Enron, Fan Tianlei walked into the station and met his old friend, a police officer. "Old buddy, we're meeting again. You have to do me a favor. A young man just killed 2 criminals, I need his information." Chapter 4. Get points and strengthen again. Seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Returning home, Suyu cleared the remaining blood stains on the ground. The first murder caused some changes in his mood and led to his growth. After everything was sorted out, Suyu continued his training. Becoming stronger is his primary goal. This battle gave him an idea of his approximate strength. I was able to quickly kill 2 people through a surprise attack. If it were a direct confrontation, facing 2 criminals with guns and rich combat experience, he would definitely not achieve such a result. Even he could be in danger of his life. We must improve our strength as soon as possible in order to ensure safety as much as possible in battle. Take off your shirt and continue doing push-ups in the yard. He didn't bear any more weight. Because there is a limit to the amount of daily training, even for him, it is not possible to continue high-intensity training. However, the push-ups he does are still unmatched by ordinary people. At a constant speed, do a push-up in almost 10 seconds, which is 10 times more difficult than a regular push-up. The next morning, Suyu woke up as usual and began morning exercises. Shuttle through the mountains and forests in the suburbs, engage in extreme off-road running, return to the house, and continue strength training. For an hour, I was sweating profusely all over. Taking off the top, sweat kept slipping down the skin. At this moment, the sound of cars roaring outside the room. After a moment, he stopped at the door and heard a knock. Suyu got up and walked over. Who will come? He has some doubts. He doesn't have many friends, and few people come to find him. Pushing open the door, Suyu suddenly raised his eyebrows. Standing outside the door is Enran. "Enran, why did you come?" Suyu was somewhat surprised. At this point, Enran's attire was vastly different from yesterday. Wearing a black shirt and a pair of hot pants on the lower body, the 2 fair long legs looked very dazzling. "I'm here to treat you to dinner, my savior." Enran playfully blinked her eyes and smiled as she said. As she spoke, Enran glanced at Suyu's body, her face slightly flushed. Suyu had no clothes on his upper body, and his strong muscles were clearly visible at this moment. Not particularly robust, but with sharp edges and a sense of separation in lines. The green veins on the chicken lie flat, giving it a sense of strength. Enran's heart beats a bit faster. Suyu may not be too handsome, but he is very durable. Now, with such a figure, it's really hormonal and she can't help but take a few more glances. To conceal her own state, Enran reached out and pushed Suyu's chest, saying, quickly, "Come in and take a shower and change into your clothes. I'll take you out to eat." At the beginning, I only felt that Suyu's muscles were full of elasticity and the feel was good, which made her heart beat faster. Suyu felt a bit helpless as his training schedule was disrupted. However, even though Enran has come to his door, he cannot refuse. After taking a shower and changing clothes, Suyu and Enran arrived at a high-end restaurant in the city center. During the meal, Suyu and Enran became officially acquainted and chatted a lot. Suyutsai learned that in this world, Enran and Lei Zhan have not yet come together. No wonder Enran was chased to his doorstep, and this plot was not originally there. It seems that there are some things that are quite different from the original plot. After finishing the meal, Suyu accompanied Enran out for a stroll. It was not until the afternoon that Enron sent Suyu home, and the two of them exchanged messages. Returning home, Suyu took a short rest and began to continue training. Being alone at home, only training can make him feel at ease and not waste time. After the push-ups are over, start squatting. After squatting, start training combat skills, and so on. With his training, the integration on the system attribute panel is also slowly increasing. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Suyu finished his training and checked his attribute points, only to find that he had reached 127. In just one day, with over 100 points, and at most 7 or 8 days left, you can accumulate another 1,000 points. There are still about 20 days left until I enlist, which is enough for me to earn 2,000 points. Suyu got up, ate something, and then took a shower to rest. In the following time, Suyu continued to follow his own training plan, step by step, training step by step. During this period, Enron will also come to see her every now and then. The relationship between two people is rapidly warming up. Although there has not been substantial progress yet, it has become much more intimate. 20 days passed in a blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, it's time to enlist. On this morning, the sun first rose. In the dense mountains and forests, a figure shuttles along the path. The speed is as fast as a cheetah, making it difficult for people to see clearly. Ding, the host's ultimate sprint off-road distance is 10 kilometers, with a cumulative score of 2,000. Upon hearing the sound coming from his mind, Suyu slowly stopped his body. Finally, we have reached 2,000 points. Suyu was panting heavily. System, consume points, and enhance Vajra immortal and fighting abilities respectively. Ding, according to the host's instructions, consume 2,000 points and successfully strengthen Vajra undameable to intermediate level. Combat ability has been enhanced to intermediate level. Intermediate King Kong is not bad. The body is upgraded again, reaching a level of toughness, and the ability to resist attacks is doubled, able to resist most blunt weapon attacks. Intermediate combat. Possesses 20 years of elite-level life and death combat experience. Old author's new book release, Non.Toxic and Pitless, absolutely refreshing article, seeking support from Flower Review votes. As long as the data on the first day is good, the author will explode. Seeking Flower Review votes. Chapter 5. Enron comes to say goodbye, the new soldiers are fried. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In just an instant, Suyu felt that there was a lot of information in his mind. These are the increases in combat abilities. This is not forcefully instilled, it seems more like it belongs to him, completely proficient and ready to take action at any time. Who? Suyu took a deep breath and calmed down his breathing. After a brief rest, he left the mountains and forests. After returning home, I took a shower and ate some food. Then, pack up your luggage. This noon is the day for enlistment. After everything was sorted out, Suyu arrived at the center of the main room. On the wall in front of me, there is a portrait of Su Haishan hanging. Picking up the wine from the nearby table, I poured a glass and placed it under the portrait. I will definitely avenge you. This day, it won't be too far. Suyu clenched his fist slowly. He believes that after joining the army, as long as he works hard and enters the special forces, there will definitely be a chance to meet scorpions. Didi. Outside, suddenly came the sound of car horns. Suyu was puzzled, who came again? Go to the door and push it open. Outside the door, a middle-aged man in police uniform smiled when he saw Suyu. Xiaoyu, enlisted today, right? I'm here to see you off. Suyu said, Uncle Sun, you're so busy. I'll just take the car myself. Sun Longmu is his father's long-time comrade in arms, a police officer in the station, and can be said to be a brother who has experienced life and death. Since Su Haishan's death, he has also been caring for and taking care of himself. Sun Longmu waved his hand and said, Don't worry, I will definitely send you when you join the army today. Lao Su is not here, and I will help you if there is anything. Okay, thank you very much, Uncle Sunday. Su Yu is not affected either. Next, the two of them entered the room and chatted a lot. Soon, it's time to enlist. Su Yu put on his military uniform and bowed. Good kid, wearing a military uniform so straight, he must be a good soldier. Sun Longmu praised it. Station. Although it's not yet time, you can see that some new recruits have arrived here. After bidding farewell to Su Yu and Sun Longmu, they entered the station and found a seat to sit down, closing their eyes and recuperating. A few minutes later, a voice interrupted him. Hey, aren't you the brother from that day? Su Yu opened his eyes. I saw He Chenguang standing next to him with a surprised expression on his face. He was slightly stunned. He Chenguang grinned and said, We really have fate. We met at the entrance of the bureau a while ago, and I didn't expect us to be comrades in the same company. Previously, they had a chance encounter in front of the bureau. Su Yu was slightly surprised at this moment, not realizing that they had been assigned to a company. Is this a coincidence? He suddenly thought of Enron and Fan Tianlei. Maybe, it's not a coincidence. Hello, my name is He Chenguang. He Chenguang smiled and said. Hello, Su Yu. Su Yu responded calmly. He Chenguang, it's you. At this moment, a furious shout came from the side. I saw Wang Yanbing walking over with an angry expression on his face. You're also in this platoon, you're a real enemy. Hurry up and compensate my phone. He Chenguang said in a somewhat speechless voice, Are you finished? The two of them sat next to Su Yu and started arguing without saying a word. Su Yu frowned slightly. These two people are really the same as in the plot, they are really noisy. Soon, Li Erniu also arrived here. As a mediator, he naturally expressed his desire to reconcile the two of them. However, the effect is not significant. With the passage of time, almost all the new recruits have arrived and are about to board the train and depart. At this moment, calls came from among the new recruits, and many of them looked in one direction. What is the situation? He Chenguang and others were all surprised and followed everyone's gaze. A woman in military uniform walked over from the entrance. She has a graceful figure, a dignified demeanor, and carries a bar and 2 stars on her shoulders. I'll go, 1 cent and 2 cents, such a beautiful female soldier, or a lieutenant officer. Wang Yanbing said somewhat surprised. Is this our leader? He Chenguang also came to his senses. Lieutenant officer, what kind of officer is he? On the side, Li Erniu asked with some confusion. At this moment, when Su Yu looked over, he suddenly felt a bit dumbfounded. Because the person who came was none other than Enron. Isn't she a soldier with wolf teeth? Why did she come here? After changing into military uniform, Enron looked even more heroic and had a very good temperament, attracting the attention of all new recruits. Enron stood in the middle of the new recruits, looking around the entire station as if searching for something. Quickly, when she shifted her gaze to Su Yu, a smile appeared. Immediately, he walked towards this side. Seeking flower evaluation tickets. Seeking flower evaluation tickets. Seeking flower evaluation tickets. Say important things 3 times. Chapter 6 He Chenguang. Your girlfriend. Envy and jealousy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Yu. Enron walked up to Su Yu. Why did you come? Su Yu stood up. Suddenly, countless gazes converged on Su Yu. On the side, Wang Yanbing and He Chenguang's eyes changed as they looked at Su Yu. Good kid, so you know each other. Surprisingly, they came to find you. Enron glanced at the new recruit beside him and then reached out to pinch Su Yu's sleeve. The two of them walked into an empty environment on the side. This scene immediately made countless people's eyes straight. Why is this behavior so similar to the way young couples behave? Ignoring the gaze of others, Enron looked at Su Yu and said, "Today is the day when new recruits enlist. I thought of you, so I came to see you off." "Exactly, I'm also going back to the team." "I see." Su Yu finally understood. Enron blinked and said, "Let's behave well in the army. Maybe we'll meet up in the army." Su Yu smiled and said, "Let's wait and see." After chatting for a while, Enron lowered his hat and left here. Su Yu also turned around and prepared to return to his seat. As soon as I turned around, I suddenly noticed that all the new recruits were focused on me. And everyone's eyes were filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. This made Su Yu feel a bit overwhelmed with tears and laughter. I didn't expect to become the enemy of everyone before I even entered the army. Su Yu, you're really good. You haven't even joined the army yet you actually have a lieutenant officer's girlfriend. When did you hook up? He Chenguang said enviously. TSK. On the side, Wang Yanbing also made a sound, his eyes looking at Su Yu inexplicably. Li Erniu asked with a simple and curious expression, "How old is a lieutenant?" Su Yu shook his head and said, "Don't guess, it's just an ordinary friendship." "Friendly relationships, right? I understand everything I know." He Chenguang grinned a little. The expressions of several people were clearly lewd. Su Yu didn't want to pay attention to a few people anymore and sat in his seat, continuing to close his eyes and rest. And the other recruits were filled with envy and jealousy in their hearts. Both of them are new recruits, how could this kid have such a beautiful female officer to see them off? What a despicable thing. Quickly, it was time to gather. Everyone quickly followed the instructions of the squad leader and got into their respective cars. Buzz, the car began to start and slowly headed towards the troops. On the car, the new recruits had different emotions, with a curious excitement about entering the army and a sense of disappointment about leaving home. Su Yu sat in his seat all along, closing his eyes to refresh himself. Except during training, he doesn't want to waste energy. After all, according to his training volume, he needs a lot of recovery time and has to rest whenever he has time. On the car, Wang Yanbing became increasingly angry as he thought about it. Finally, he couldn't help but say, "He Chenguang, don't think things are just settled. You must compensate me for your phone." Upon hearing this, He Chenguang's head suddenly widened and he said in silence, "Are you finished? What do you think? Just compensate me for my phone." The two of them started arguing one by one. On the car, the other recruits were feeling a bit sore. Are these two guys still arguing? On the side, leaning against the carriage, Su Yu, who was half asleep and half awake, was also awakened by the voices of the two people. He frowned slightly and opened his eyes to see two people pulling their necks at each other. He spoke up and said, "Stop arguing. If you have anything to say, go ahead and talk privately." After the words fell, He Chenguang closed his mouth and said, "Did you see that it's disturbing someone else? Please be quiet." Wang Yanbing looked at Su Yu with an unconvinced expression and said, "What's up with you? I'll sleep with you." As he spoke, he didn't continue and wisely closed his mouth. And Su Yu gave him a cold glance. When Wang Yanbing met Su Yu's gaze, for some reason, he felt a chill in his heart. Has this guy ever killed anyone? His eyes make people feel so cold. Of course, what he didn't know was that Su Yu did indeed kill someone not long ago. In the afternoon, the car finally entered the military district. 81st Army Group, Iron Fist Regiment Base. After the car stopped, all members of the new recruits got off the car one after another. This is the army, within the military district. The new recruits were all looking around, curiously examining everything. Su Yu also looked around and quickly withdrew his gaze. He is not unfamiliar with this scene. Are they all coming to the market to buy groceries one by one, chattering non-stop like an old lady. I don't even have the appearance of a soldier. Ahead, suddenly came a loud shout. The voice is loud and quite intimidating. Suddenly, everyone was startled. Ahead stood several middle-aged soldiers, dressed in military uniforms, with non-commissioned officers and officers, looking at everyone with a serious expression. Seeing these people, Su Yu immediately recognized them. It was the old black squad leader, as well as Gong Jian and others. While the other recruits were still feeling a bit confused, Su Yu walked to the gathering place and stood up straight. Give some flower evaluation tickets to support it, big shots. Please support. Chapter 7. Was it intimidated? The surprise of the old black squad leader. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After seeing Su Yu's appearance, He Chenguang and his companions were the first to react and quickly stood in line. After everyone stands up. Forward, Gong Jian, standing on the platform, looked at everyone with a serious expression. In his eyes, there was a hint of disdain. At the next moment, he carried his hands behind his back and said, "First of all, welcome to the 81st Army Group, the Iron Fist Regiment. I am your new recruits company commander, Gong Jian. In the future, I will lead you in training new recruits during the transitional period. You can come to me for anything." After speaking, he paused for a moment and continued, "That's the introduction. Now, let me listen carefully to what's going on. You soldiers. Oh no, you can't even be considered soldiers. Standing one by one without a proper posture, shaking their heads and minds, what does it look like? Do you deserve this military uniform? I don't want you to remain like this after the end of the new recruits company." Gong Jian scolded everyone with a black face. Afterwards, he glanced at the old black squad leader and left directly. The understanding of the old black squad leader. He took over Gong Jian's words and walked to the front of the platoon, saying, "I tell you, I'm your squad leader. They all call me the old black squad leader. What the instructor just said was absolutely right. You are just a bunch of rookies now, and you don't deserve to be called soldiers. So, in the upcoming training, I will let you know what terrifying and cruel training is, which you have never experienced before. Until you can become a true soldier." After speaking, the old black squad leader scanned everyone in a circle. Immediately, he fixed his gaze on Su Yu and shouted, "You." As the words fell, Su Yu suddenly raised his eyebrows. "What does this mean?" "Cainiao, what's your name?" Faced with the shouting of the old black squad leader, Su Yu calmly replied, "Su Yu." After hearing this, the old black squad leader shouted again, "Su Yu, your current name is Cainiao, do you understand?" Su Yu's expression was strange. This plot, he remembers, was used to intimidate He Chenguang. How did it become his own? Why, are you still not convinced? The old black squad leader glared. The reason why Su Yu was chosen at first glance was because Su Yu had just stood in line and left an impression on him. So, he wants to test this kid. At this point, Su Yu finally understood. It's just a matter of imposing threats, it's just a warning to the monkeys. There's no need to worry about which chicken was killed, he was just randomly selected. So he calmly replied, "Report, no. No. What expression is that without you?" The old black squad leader was obviously not prepared to let Su Yu go. Su Yu said calmly, "No, I just have a naturally quirky face. Born with a quirky face." Pucci, after saying this, the members of the entire new recruits couldn't help but laugh. "I didn't see it, Su Yu is quite humorous. Why laugh? Take everyone seriously." The old black squad leader scolded everyone. Suddenly, everyone suppressed their laughter. "You kid, I see you're deliberately picking on trouble. Do you want to be an assassin? I will fulfill you." The old black squad leader walked up to Su Yu and shouted sternly, 100 push-ups, now. Immediately. Immediately. As the words fell, Suyu felt somewhat helpless. I still can't escape being treated as a warning to the monkeys. However, 100 push-ups are still not a problem for him. So he propped himself up on the ground and began doing push-ups. But the old black squad leader turned his head and continued to reprimand the other new recruits. In less than a minute, Suyu's shout came through. Report. A shout interrupted the old black squad leader. He immediately turned his head to look at Suyu propped up on the ground and shouted, "What are you doing?" "Done," Suyu said calmly. "It's just 100 push-ups, it's very easy for him, and he doesn't blush or breathe." "Done." The old black squad leader glared, glancing at the watch. "In just a few seconds, have you completed 100 push-ups? And judging from its appearance, its face is not red, and it doesn't pant when speaking, as if it's difficult to scratch. Who are you fooling?" The old black squad leader shouted. He didn't look at Suyu just now, so he didn't believe it. "Make me another 100 and I'll personally help you time them. If we can't finish it, you'll look good." As he spoke, he glanced at his watch and shouted, "Let's get started." Suyu felt a bit helpless and could only continue with 100 push-ups. This time, the old black squad leader stared closely at Suyu, including the new recruits and other team members who also turned their attention to Suyu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The old black squad leader began to feel a bit surprised as he counted. Suyu's push-ups are very standard and indeed done very quickly. With both hands propped up in the chest position, almost gripping the chest, every time the chest touches the ground, the body is straight. Dozens of push-ups, all done quickly with standard posture. Without further ado, the author knelt down and begged for some flower evaluation tickets, seeking support. Chapter 8. Veterans get out for training. Suyu doesn't run. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Quickly, 100 push-ups were done. Throughout the process, Lao He watched and Suyu completed it effortlessly, seemingly without any pressure. Obviously, this kid has definitely practiced before. In less than 2 minutes, 200 standard push-ups were completed. Not to mention ordinary young people, even compared to veterans, they don't give in too much. It seems that I have encountered a good seedling this time. Report, done. Suyu spoke again. This time, not only the old black squad leader, but also the other new recruits were very surprised. Suyu's physical fitness turned out to be so strong. Although the old black squad leader had some admiration for Suyu in his heart, it was impossible to give him a good face on the surface. He looked at Suyu and shouted, "It seems like you've practiced. Get up." As the words fell, Suyu supported the ground with one hand and stood firmly in place with just one bounce. Looking at Suyu's appearance, the old black squad leader snorted coldly and continued, "Don't think you're too strong just by doing 100 or 200 push-ups. I'll tell you, it's still far from here. No matter what you do outside, here you are absolutely new recruits and rookies. I can easily pull out a few veterans, even a little finger is stronger than you." Still scolding with a black face. Of course, when this sentence was spoken, the several veteran squad leaders standing behind him all grinned. These new recruits really didn't take them seriously. Suyu's physical fitness does look good, but with 200 push-ups, they can easily complete it. However, after saying this, Suyu only smiled slightly. Even a finger is stronger than them. This statement is somewhat ridiculous. And He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing also showed a hint of dissatisfaction. Both of these people have first-class physical fitness, and they are arrogant masters. It is definitely impossible for them to be so convinced. After seeing the expressions of several people, the old black squad leader immediately raised his eyebrows. "Why, it looks like you're all very dissatisfied. You. And you too." He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing were named, and the old black squad leader pointed at them. "Tell me your names." After listening, the two immediately stood up straight. He Chenguang. Wang Yanbing. After listening to this, the old black squad leader glanced at it for a while and said, "Okay, since you're all very dissatisfied, I'll show you what true physical fitness is. Su Yu. He Chenguang. Wang Yanbing. You three, please list me out." Upon hearing this, He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing walked briskly to the front of the team. But Su Yu felt a bit sore. Is Xia Mawei not finished yet? He can only step out of the team. Class leader. As the words fell, the veteran squad leader behind him quickly stood up straight and shouted, "Here." The old black squad leader shouted loudly, "Bring me 3 of them to practice for 5 kilometers. Let them take a good look, what is true stretching. Let them know, what does heaven and earth are thick mean. Understood?" The squad leader's originally dark face now showed a faint smile. Training new recruits, this is his favorite part. Looking at Su Yu and the others, he seemed to have seen the expressions of several people bending over, hands supporting their knees, and almost vomiting. Immediately, he spoke up and said, "You 3, come with me." As he spoke, he took the lead in walking towards the track where he was standing. Su Yu and the others followed closely behind. Except for Su Yu, both He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing appeared somewhat excited. They all have a personality that loves to show off. Originally, when they joined the army, they came to be the first in the company. Now, it's too late for them to be happy to show their heads in the new recruits' company. Wang Yanbing glanced at He Chenguang and Su Yu and said half sarcastically, "Wait 5 kilometers, I won't even be able to see the shadows I've thrown at you." After the words fell, He Chenguang grinned and said, "Let's give it a try." And Su Yu directly ignored what he said. A squad leader led 3 people to the runway and immediately spoke up, 5-kilometer training, do your best, run as fast as you can. If you really can't catch up with me, there's no need to force it, it's not embarrassing." After speaking, he immediately took a step forward and ran ahead. His speed can be said to be very fast. Class leader Zhao Shan is one of the top physically capable individuals in the Iron Fist Troop, and has consistently ranked among the top 3 in previous assessments. This time, the old black squad leader called him in, partly because he wanted to find an opportunity to give the new recruits a boost. Now, it comes in handy. After seeing the squad leader start, He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing didn't have much ink left and quickly followed suit. The 2 of them were equally fast, running side by side for a moment, closely following behind the squad leader. At this moment, Su Yu was at the back of the 3, appearing to be the slowest and unable to catch up with them. At this moment, He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing glanced at Su Yu's speed and felt a little relieved. It seems that strength and speed cannot be achieved simultaneously. Su Yu's push-up strength is good. But running physical fitness is not good. As the saying goes, ask for flower evaluation tickets, ask for flower evaluation tickets. Kneel down and beg for support. Chapter 9. He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing were shocked. Su Yufa. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the rear, the old black squad leader and members of the new recruits are all paying attention to the 4 people. When he saw Su Yu at the end, the old black squad leader frowned. Is this kid running so slow? Did he take a wrong look? However, what everyone didn't know was that Su Yu ran slowly because he had opened the property panel at this time. Since it's a 5-kilometer race, he wants to take advantage of this time and increase his attribute points. In this way, while completing tasks, one can also earn points, which is a win-win situation. When he was ready, he took a deep breath and began to accelerate. In just an instant, his stride rate suddenly increased, as if stepping on the accelerator. Originally, a long-distance race was at the forefront, and He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing left Su Yu 10 meters away. In just a few breaths, Su Yu almost caught up with the 2 of them, with a distance of less than 2 meters. When they heard the footsteps behind them, Wang Yanbing and He Chenguang turned their heads in confusion and took a glance. It was only then that Suyu, who was originally 10 meters away, had already followed closely behind them. Suddenly, both of them had a fixed gaze. Why did this guy catch up in an instant? Moreover, they noticed that Suyu was rapidly narrowing the distance between them, at a very fast speed. Now, both of them are not calm anymore, they quickly accelerate. Originally, it wasn't that Suyu's physical fitness was not good, but that he was only starting to show real speed now. For a moment, all four of them remained silent, only heavy breathing. Both of them showed their fastest speed and wanted to compete for first place. After two people ran at full speed for several tens of meters, they suddenly noticed an extra figure standing next to them. It's Suyu. Suddenly, both He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing's faces changed. They have already accelerated at full speed, but Suyu still managed to catch up directly from a distance of 10 meters behind them. At this moment, Suyu glanced at Wang Yanbing beside him and thought of the words he had mocked before. So he glanced at it sideways and casually uttered two words. Is that all? As the words fell, Wang Yanbing's face instantly turned ugly, and his already black face became even darker. I was mocked by Suyu. This guy is simply despicable. He snorted coldly and said, don't be complacent, see who can laugh until the end. Do you think you can definitely surpass me? Then give it a try, Suyu said lightly, I need to accelerate now. Upon hearing this, Wang Yanbing was immediately dumbfounded. Accelerate. Emotion, this guy hasn't shown the fastest speed yet. Before he could react, Suyu, who was originally on par with him, gradually surpassed them at a speed visible to the naked eye. This. He clenched his fists tightly. I never expected this guy to run so fast. On the other hand, He Chenguang was also shocked in his heart. He has undergone various sports training since childhood, and his physical fitness is top-notch. I thought I would never encounter an opponent, but I never expected Wang Yanbing to almost catch up with him, and Suyu to completely surpass him. This made him feel frustrated in his heart, gritting his teeth and accelerating wildly, putting out the energy to take care of him. Watching He Chenguang accelerate again, Wang Yanbing cursed. Grandma, I don't believe it anymore. So he gritted his teeth and ran forward recklessly, trying to catch up with Suyu. This scene was witnessed by the distant old black squad leader and others. Now, the old black squad leader was somewhat surprised. It seems that this kid was initially clumsy, it turns out that his speed is so fast. Suyu is so fast. Someone in the team sighed. I have strong strength, fast speed, and a beautiful military officer to bid farewell to. This guy really makes my teeth itch with hatred. Trembling with cold air. Within the team, there were sparse people chatting. The old black squad leader suddenly drank and said, who allowed you to speak? Class monitor 2. Take them and run 5 kilometers for me too. Yes. The second squad leader behind him walked up. Everyone come with me. So, all members of the new recruits company began to deploy. Divide into several teams and start the 5-kilometer journey. Of course, the rest of the new recruits are only regular 5 kilometers. And Suyu and the 3 of them, on the other hand, went on a crazy 5-kilometer stretch, which was a challenge that the old black squad leader wanted to give them. Quickly, 1 kilometer is over. Wang Yanbing and He Chenguang are still at the back, side by side. Although they had already put in some effort to run, they still couldn't catch up with Suyu. Even, the distance between them and Suyu is getting farther and farther. This makes them a bit powerless. Is this guy a cheetah? They have already been pulled apart for nearly 10 meters. Meanwhile, Suyu in front didn't have the intention to pay attention to the two of them at this moment. He ran while paying attention to the system attribute integral. Just finished 1 kilometer and only gained 2 points. This made him take a deep breath. It seems that his speed has not reached its limit yet, otherwise his points would have increased even more. So he adjusted his breathing and increased his speed again. Take out your best form and complete these 5 kilometers. And the squad leader ahead is less than 10 meters away from him. Kneeling for flower evaluation tickets. Chapter 10. Exploding Veterans. The old black squad leader was shocked. You are listening at novel full.audio. Who? Class leader Zhao Shan is running ahead. He only heard a loud breathing sound coming from behind. This surprised him in his heart. This kind of breathing sound is not the kind of rapid and breathless sound, but the extremely amazing lung capacity. Every breath is filled with a huge sound. Just like the breathing sound emitted by wild beasts, the stronger the physical strength, the louder the sound. This made him quickly turn his head and take a look. Immediately, he saw Suyu behind him rapidly narrowing the distance between them. This kid. Zhao Shan's face changed slightly. Isn't this guy just left at the back? How could he catch up with him in the blink of an eye? It seems that this kid is really not easy. He can't be careless anymore, he must show his fastest speed to be safe. Otherwise, wouldn't it be embarrassing to be surpassed by a new recruit egg? In the distance, the old black squad leader had already arrived and stood with Gong Jian. Instructor. At this moment, Gong Jian stood on the platform, staring at Suyu on the distant runway, and asked, "What's that kid's name? He has good physical fitness." The old black squad leader said, "His name is Suyu." Gong Jian said, "You just punished me with 200 push-ups. I can still run so fast now, I have to catch up with the squad leader. It seems that this kid is a good soldier." Although he left, he kept an eye on the situation of the new recruits from a distance and did not leave directly. "It's pretty good, but I don't know if it's a thorn in the head. It's not very easy to discipline," said the old black squad leader with a hint of shock. At the moment Gong Jian smiled and said, "A thorn in the head is not afraid. Those who are capable are the thorn in the head, while those who are not capable can only be ordinary people." "That's right." The old black squad leader nodded. Gong Jian looked at Suyu on the runway, who was not far from Zhao Shan, and asked, "Do you think this kid can run better than the squad leader Zhao Shan?" After hearing this, the old black squad leader said, "No way, Zhao Shan is not the strongest person in the team, but definitely one of the strongest ones. Although Suyu's new recruit is strong, can he still surpass Zhao Shan?" After speaking, he glanced at the runway. At this glance, he was left speechless. Suyu is almost catching up with Zhao Shan. On the runway, after accelerating again, Suyu finally caught up with Zhao Shan and came to his side, on par with him. Now, Zhao Shan beside him suddenly became calm. This guy actually caught up with him. At this moment, Suyu did not glance at Zhao Shan because he was fully focused on his ultimate sprint, in order to increase more points. If we have leisure time with Zhao Shan, it may affect him. So, he surpassed Zhao Shan bit by bit. At this moment, Zhao Shan's face turned pale, with a feeling of eating feces. He was really overtaken by a new recruit's egg. Moreover, this guy passed by himself without even looking at him, completely ignoring himself. This further dealt a blow to his heart. It's really amazing. In the distance, the old black squad leader was somewhat surprised. In just about 2 kilometers, the squad leader was overtaken by Suyu, and it seemed difficult to catch up. Sure enough. Gong Jian smiled slightly at this moment. He just guessed that Suyu should be able to surpass Zhao Shan, as he expected. He pointed to He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing behind him and said, "Not only Suyu, but also those two behind, are they gradually getting closer to the squad leader?" After listening, the old black squad leader turned his head and immediately noticed that He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing were indeed narrowing the distance between them and Zhao Shan. If we follow this speed, we can level Zhao Mountain for about 4 kilometers and then overtake him. Good kid, the new recruits company has taken in 3 impressive new recruits at once. The old black class monitor sighed a bit. He just sent a squad leader Zhao Shan to train Su Yu and the 3 of them, hoping to give them a boost. As a result, who would have thought that in just 2 kilometers, Su Yu had already surpassed Zhao Shan, and the other 2 were also likely to have surpassed him. I'm afraid I'll be slapped in the face. 3 kilometers. At this moment, Su Yu rode on top of the dust and shook off the squad leader Zhao Shan by nearly 30 meters, far ahead. As for He Chenguang and Wang Yanbing, they gritted their teeth and chased frantically. They no longer expect to catch up with Su Yu, but only hope to catch up with Zhao Shan. At least they have a comforting heart. Finally, after more than 4 kilometers, they caught up with Zhao Shan and were on par with him. And almost as soon as they caught up, Su Yu's 5 kilometers were completed. Who? He slowly stopped at this moment, panting heavily. Running so fast, even with his physique, he is quite tired. After all, this is an extreme run, and he feels a burning sensation in his chest, with sweat dripping down. This guy is too fast. In the distance, the old black squad leader looked shocked. I have never encountered a physically strong new recruit before. But the new recruit who can throw the old soldier so far away is the first time he has seen him. On the side, Gong Jian smiled and said, "All right, go over and take a look. There are very few flower review tickets. After reading the book, thank you for your support. Your data is the author's coding motivation. The more you give, the more updates."